I really think Stranger Things landed the plane well in the finale. Let's talk about it. Look, this wasn't a perfect episode, and I was as negative on Volume 2 as anyone, but I really think this was a strong finale, particularly the epilogue. I really like the epilogue after they defeated Vecna. I know not everyone is going to love this, but I think it was really strong. I think they got back to basics, and honestly, I thought the epilogue was so good, it was almost a little bit frustrating, because that's what I wanted the entire season to be. I'm kind of surprised how many people don't like the finale. I think what it shows you is that there's the audience is kind of split in half. There are people who are really, really into the Vecna stuff, the battles, the lore, and all that stuff. And I'm into that stuff too. But I think the backbone of the show is how it finished. Is the coming of age stuff, is the high school stuff, is the Hawkins stuff. I thought the graduation scene was excellent. I think Dustin is really the backbone of the show. He might not be the main character, but I really think he's the glue that makes the show work. I think he's been the strongest and most consistent performer, really, from beginning to end. And overall, I just think the ending was just fitting. That's what I would say. It's a very fitting ending. After they killed Vecna, I definitely was a little bit confused by the timing, because there was a lot of time left in the episode. But I was very, very happy to see them do character development that I think was necessary. Although I do think it was a little bit frustrating, like I said, that they didn't do this character development throughout the season. It really felt like the epilogue was by far the strongest. Just filmmaking overall, it was the most emotion. You can kind of feel it in the characters and their performances, and it really stuck out kind of that last 20 minutes compared to the rest of the season. My main gripe of the show as a plot hole is really there was no, unless I'm wrong, there was no interaction between the government and Vecna. So they defeat Vecna and they come back and the government is all over them trying to kidnap them, arrest them. I don't think that there was ever, unless I'm wrong, some sort of interaction between Vecna and the government. And I think that part is really confusing me, why they wouldn't be like, hey, by the way, there's this really, really evil force in the Upside Down that we've kind of been battling the whole time. I'm kind of confused if the government is aware of Vecna, aware of the Mind Flare and all of that. That part, maybe it's just me, but that was a little bit confusing to me. I thought Vecna's ending was interesting because for a while I thought he was going to get a sympathetic ending. It felt like they were going in that direction. They kind of, showed the scenes with him as a kid killing that guy and kind of getting the Mind Flare particles. But then they kind of quickly pulled that back and basically he just admitted that he wanted to be bad the whole time. So that was a little bit surprising to me that they didn't give him a sympathetic ending and they just kind of kept him a bad guy. I thought maybe they'd do like a Darth Vader thing where he kind of redeems himself at the end, but they did not do that at all. Again, there's definitely is criticism for how they handled the Linda Hamilton character, how they handled the government stuff. They brought back Callie for a couple episodes just to kill her off. You can also criticize the lack of deaths of main characters, and maybe there aren't that many stakes, blah, 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 blah. But overall, I think in totality, the show landed the plane. I think a lot of these critiques, as the show ages, aren't really going to be critiques anymore. And I really think that the last scene was extremely, extremely important. I think they needed to end it with Dungeons and Dragons, and I just think it was really, really well done. I also think the other children kind of coming down and replacing Mike and his friends was really, really well done. I see a lot of people saying, oh, this is just to set up a spin-off. No, I totally disagree. I thought this was really the whole point of the show, is people growing up and then other kids coming over and kind of having their own version of the story. And I thought, like I said, the coming of age stuff I think is the most important part of the show. Like I said, I think it's the backbone of the show, and I think it's extremely important for the show that it ended that way. I also like that Mike kind of ended as the main character. I feel like Mike, there's always been debate who the main character of the show is. Is it Eleven? Is it Mike? Is it Hopper? Is it Joyce? Is it the Mind Flare? Who is it? Is it Will? And I think definitely Will is kind of the main plot line, but I always feel like Mike was kind of like player one, was kind of the main guy, and I think it was smart that he kind of ended as kind of like the main character. I thought Eleven's storyline was done well too. I mean, obviously she doesn't get a happy ending, but they kind of give you a choice to pick from. Either she died or she kind of ends up in like this town, on the other side of the world. Either way, they kind of leave it open-ended. I thought it was well done. Not perfect. I can understand people not liking it. I think it's fair criticism to say, like, why doesn't she get a happy ending when everyone else does? But I think that if she got a happy ending, was at the Dungeons and Dragons table, and everyone survived, I think they'd be getting a lot of criticism for that too. So I think no matter what, they'd be getting criticism right now. overall, I always like being honest, to my emotions and how I viewed the show. And I slept on it. I watched it last night. I slept on it. And I woke up very positive about it. Like I said, I think it's not perfect. I would have done stuff differently throughout the entire season. I think the first, volume 2 is probably the weakest part of Stranger Things in totality. And season 5 still might be the weakest part overall. But I think the fact that they ended the epilogue is honestly the most important part, because if that didn't go over well, then the whole show is arguably ruined. And they definitely didn't ruin the show. They just maybe made a few mistakes along the way in the season. But overall, like I said, I really thought the epilogue was strong. I thought the coming of age stuff was strong. I think it hit well. I think the music hit well. And I think they really did a good job. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to talk about it more, but these were just my initial reactions of the finale. Thanks, guys, for watching. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.